Ah, mamma mia.
Wake the fuck up, Mario. We have enemy to raid. Fire Force Season 3. Fire Force, more like, Fire, the writers. The anime people have been waiting for about 5 years. What do they have to show for these years? Not much. Animation doesn't seem to have improved compared to the last season, maybe even gotten worse. I say this having watched the second season about 2 years ago. I didn't go back to watch the previous season just for a comparison. Fuck you.
And fuck off. And leave me to my lotions. Up, the floor just cracked. I believe I might fall.
The frame sequence is leaning towards bad, meaning it's not fluid, it's choppy. The camera work is also quite bad for an anime of this size. 7. It is a fight-intensive shonen, a good score ain't gonna come from just that. Writing, all over the place. Everything is tied together by thin threads that can rip at any moment. I know it's characteristic of shonens to not have the best writing, but this is maybe among the worst of the popular ones. Maybe that's the reason why it's not higher on the list. Let me see issues I've noted. Mismatches between episodes, accepting situations too easily, interesting characters or powers that are not expanded upon. Oh, the classic just looking at the people you should fucking kill, because when the ship is sinking, you just look at the iceberg. These guys are probably the reason why the things I buy from Temu aren't being delivered. Bro, that guy is sitting over there charging, ain't you gonna do something? Nah. I understand you want to keep things as close to the manga as possible, but sometimes the directors gotta chip in and say, shit's bad, and move some things around. No, I don't know if it's sticking exactly to what the manga has. Brings me to a new point, and that is, the plot twists and unravelment of secrets feels weightless. Build up, built on build up, goes nowhere if it's only supported by Pop-Tarts. They're ready. 5.5. The soundtrack is generally great, it's impactful and epic, has measurable impact alongside the visuals. It's leaning towards classic fantasy combined with holiness, as you could guess since this show has a big religious aspect. 8. Stills. The scene composition could have been a lot better, the direction is okay, and the fire or special effects are absolutely mesmerizing, you could say. As I see, they are 2D, hand animated, so I don't know if you can really call them special effects. Character design is good for a shonen, and backgrounds are average. 8. Uniqueness. The world is quite unique for what it is, a less modern world. Powers are when pitted against the shonen formula, it comes out on top only by its captivating religious aspect and hidden truths. 7. All of these scores bring its total to 6.92. The end of this season is an eerie-ish cliffhanger which leads to the next part of the season, which will come out in winter. It seems like we're rapidly approaching the end of the series and who knows, maybe the next part is the end. Even though the writing isn't the best, I look forward to see how the story develops in the next season, or part, whatever. My personal enjoyment score is 7.5. Why hello and welcome to my humble explanation of the rating formula. Feel free to skip ahead if you don't care. There should be chapters made. Fuck. Okay, so if you're still here, as the usual, the formula isn't just an average of the scores I give the anime, I use this formula, which makes more important aspects more important. Yeah. Quick explanation, animation is movement and motion, the writing refers to story, pacing, direction, and anything that can fit under that general umbrella, soundtrack is self-explanatory, stills are the quality of individual frames, and uniqueness is how much a show stands out. I'm sorry for delaying this so much, I said in the previous video that I'd get it done next week, and I don't know how much time has passed since then. I think it's 2 weeks, maybe more. Sorry for that. I've been wondering if I should do these videos midway through the season, because that's when people care the most about the season, not when it's already the next, like now. I do it this way so that I will have watched the shows entirely and not just part of them. This way I paint the right picture, you know. Do tell me which way you prefer in the comments, like and subscribe if you like the videos, and let's continue. Lazarus. Finally a serious, more mature anime. How long has it been? I generally don't remember. There might have been one this season. Oh, Shoshimin. This one is directed by Shinichiro Watanabe. If you don't know that name, I don't blame you. Not everybody knows the name of directors. Me neither. I had to look this up. He directed Cowboy Bebop most notably, and some other I'll have on screen. What can I say? Pretty epic individual. You just know this is gonna be a banger. So how about we get into the rating? Animation. Some of the best choreography I've seen in a while. Plenty of frames, so it is smooth and you can make out the movements pretty well. The camera movements you don't see anywhere else make the composition more dynamic and give you a better sense of depth. You don't have the stylized aspect modern anime do, nor the impact frames people love. The best comes out in action scenes. In general settings, the animation is not impressive. 7.5. The elevator fight scene was a bit weird though. I don't know if it's supposed to look good or bad. At least that's what I thought when I first watched it. Writing. You know the story. I think I had it in the summary. If you read it, go back and read it if you wanna. This tries to shed a light on human nature and society's issues. What will humanity do when faced with impending doom? Not much apparently. People just go about their lives and the government doesn't care enough. So what do we have? good director, anime original, kinda made for the Western audience. There are gaps, but there's only so much you can do with a limited runtime. This is also like Cowboy Bebop, a more or less episodic show in the beginning, not many overarching plot points. Believable? Pretty much. Still waiting for the time hackers are now represented by people who type fast on a keyboard or who at the same time, nor someone who has the freaky computer wizard mystery van. Story development wise, it is jumpy. Moves from one thing to another pretty fast, you don't get much character development, nor expansion on their backgrounds, the world is a futuristic Earth, the scene is not detailed, you have to create your own assumptions on how the world developed. When you're doing an episodic series and you decide you want to get into the action, well, you better allocate yourself enough time to do it. This is where I have problems with it, as I fucking did with the Space Cowboy shit. It has the same structure. When you have an established story idea, don't just give me false leads, cause I may stop fucking watching. They had more freedom with Cowboy Bebop because it had no fucking story. No goal means no expectations. Seems like they realized that the modern audience wants fast fulfillment, so they gave them the big stuff from the start, and then started doing zigzags towards it. Bad choice. 6.5. The ending leaves a bit of an opening for a second season, though there is zero hopes for it being created. It was kinda disappointing and quick. Soundtrack. Great. Jazzy. You like jazz? I like jazz, but not everybody likes jazz. I can feel a few of those bebops, you know? Sorry. It's actually pretty varied. Didn't notice the tracks being reused, they set the atmosphere very well, a bit overpowering at times compared to the voices, and I can't say they are any universal bangers, if you know what I mean. Still generally well composed. 9. Stills, not the most detailed, we have a more realistic western art style, none of that cutesy stuff anime is known for, so you can recommend this show to your friends that don't like anime and tell them it's not anime. It aired on Adult Swim for God's sake. I talked about how the scenes are dynamic in animation, and this should be paired with it. Maybe I should leave the animation for last in the first 3 and speak about it and stills at the same time? Tell me in the comments if that's a good idea. The backgrounds are reasonably detailed, seems like part of the environment is 3D, which doesn't subtract from the appearance, in fact it blends perfectly with the 2D animation and objects, and overall gives it a more mature look with its, believability. Now actually I can't tell if they are 3D or not. It could just be a 3D environment with 2D objects to give a sense of depth. It had a few issues with aliasing here and there, but they were ignorable. 8. I didn't feel like they needed to be any better, but they could have been. Uniqueness. Haven't heard of an anime with this premise, but to me it doesn't seem like a rare one. World and plot points wise, it's got that serious nature, decently uncommon. 9.5. The total is 7.88. And I'm giving it a 6.5 because I hate the structure. Oh no! From Old Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman. Well, I didn't have anything written here to say before we get to the ratings, so, he looks like Paul. Animation. Holy fucking shit, the CG is amazing. You can barely tell it apart from 2D animation. Okay, it's not the second coming of Christ, but still, I am shooketh. I did not expect great animation at all, but this— I bit my lip. But this gives me good animation and 3D one at that. Now to be clear, this is not fully CG. We've got decent amount of movement in unimportant areas, like movements of characters that are not in the center of attention, but still on screen. It's perfectly comprehensible, it's CG in intense moments after all. It can't use stylized effects so much for character animation, but there are effects. 8. Yes, the boobs were essential to the falling shot. Writing. The pacing is fine, the events are connected fairly well, you don't get a sense of time passing, but it is what it is. Characters feel flat, as in they have little depth. To make an analogy, they're like an AI that you tell, this is your personality, respond to all messages accordingly. It's kinda just that. There's very little character development, and the one that exists is just the expected outcome of a situation. Predictable and lacking oomph. A plus is the fact that they are more than just tropes personified, which is kind of a tough ask in modern anime. Still, they all like and admire the main character a bit too much. To be honest, I was expecting there to be more concern over killing people, there really wasn't any. Which I kinda guess makes sense considering the line of work. It's a bit of a breath of fresh air, since we see it everywhere. Another issue I had was that the standing of some figures, politically or strength-wise, didn't hold much weight. Can't give many great examples, Lucia, or whatever her name was, the commander, only feels like she has the power of ordering some people around. She's supposed to have more authority, and the same goes for some other characters, like the sassy lost child, the leader of the mage corps or something. So add to the downsides poor portrayal of power. 6. Soundtrack. Average. Normal fantasy tracks, nothing wow. You can say it is uninteresting, or that it blends in well enough for you to forget it's playing. 6. Stills. Summed up, they are just okay, because you'd want an average of the environment quality and the animated object quality. The backgrounds are bad. They look a bit better than those low-budget romances. There are repeated patterns, but not too frequent. The architecture is the design of buildings is kinda bare bones. Now the characters look great. Shading wise there's not a lot going on, it's very subtle, but visually pleasing. Even bystanders have a decent amount of detail. The 3D models are also good looking, maintaining all detail from 2D models. I wonder how they made the outline work look so good. The character design is peak. They've all got their charm. Ooh, string, open, easy access. I'm just saying, since they have 3D models and they look nice, why not make them publicly available? For no reason, just a thought. 8. Uniqueness. The gimmick is just that Beryl, he's good with the sword. That's it. No fancy infinite levels or power siphoning. The guy just knows how to use a sword. A more serious approach and straying away from the formula of the classic, I can't believe this is not isekai, but not by a lot. 7. The total is 6.6 and I'm giving it an 8. I enjoyed the hell out of it and I'm waiting for the next season, which has already been announced. Yeah. Okay, the beginning after the end. I watched 6 episodes and one of them at 1.5 times speed. It really felt more appropriate. I had hopes for the series, I really did, and only because the author was inspired by Mushoku Tensei in the beginning, but that's besides the point. I don't know how it progressed past the first 6 episodes, I genuinely have not heard anything about the series after the animation debacle. Funny thing, they're going straight into animation. If you look very closely, like very closely, you might need some glasses, you could notice that this show is animated. At times. Without a close analysis, I'll state that there are more scene cuts than there are different frames per scene, putting aside the CG effects because they have a high frame rate. Okay, maybe there are like 3 frames per scene on average, counting lift flaps and everything. Look, I watch shitty isekai. The animation there is nothing impressive, but here it's just deplorable. I can't stand watching something that, by the words of the characters, is supposed to be intense, and it not being close to that. At least it has animation, sometimes. 2.5. Genuinely don't know whether watching this or reading the manhwa is better. You could say the animation sucks, big downside to the anime, but the manhwa is just still images. And they themselves don't look great either, at least in the beginning. If you really want to experience the series, there's no right choice. Maybe go with the novel, but most of you likely don't like not having images to assist. That's on you. Writing. As I've read a bit of the manhwa, I can give you that perspective. It seems to have mostly everything that has been covered by it, with a few extras and only a few cuts. Is the writing good? It leaves a lot on the table. We have first-person narration from Arthur or Gray or DMC, and it is heavily relied on that. I'm a big advocate for a good balance between showing and telling, and in this case we are getting a bit too much telling. Keep that to the novel. This is a fucking anime if you forgot. If I tell you to bring me steak, you don't bring me fish steak. My mistake for coming to the fish store? What the fuck? It's slower paced and lacking a more serious vibe which would really support the story quite a bit. 5. Soundtrack. Standard fantasy vibes, a bit too quiet and lacking impact. It doesn't have the power to amplify the already bad visuals it is paired with. 5.5. Stills, quite bad, just look at what is on screen. Besides the characters not having the most detail, the amount of detail they do have is kinda random, and they also stand out a bit too much from the backgrounds which themselves are mediocre at best. There's also a bit too much bloom at times. 4. Uniqueness. You got that key thing being part of magic power and shit, the rest is standard bad isekai. 3. Oh, the total is 4.17, and surprisingly that is not the worst this season. Personally I'm giving it a 3. The Shiunji family children. As a wise girl once said, too bad these ones are not. Man, I really wanted something where the author doesn't chicken out. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I want another incest anime. I am saying that actually. I'm bored of the, oh they're just brothers. Oh no, but actually they're like distant cousins or family friends or step-siblings or whatever. Brother, you're creating this familiar relationship turned romantical for a fucking reason. The only reason why you don't follow through with it is because you're scared of having it be associated with taboo. Even though that's exactly what you're fucking after. Incest rant over. Animation. Good enough for romance, I can't say it's bad. I've enjoyed much worse when it comes to romances. Infrequent animation intensive scenes, low unique frame count, therefore fluidity is not the best. Then again, romances are focused on emotions and thrive on great scene composition for the emotional moments. Overall, it's not actually bad. 7. Writing. Sloppy. At least in the beginning the exposition is forced, the voice acting, which I'll add here is just off a slight bit, more so in the beginning part. The delivery does not fit the message they want to convey. Weird insertion of a subplot without any meaningful build-up, the lead-in is almost there, the supposed impactful moments lacks that impact, so yeah, it's kinda failing on the romance characteristic points. 6.5. Soundtrack. After finishing the show I had nothing written here and nothing in my head that I could write to give you a sense of what we're dealing with, so I went back to have a listen and yeah, it's basic as shit. Typical slice of life, doesn't add much to the scenes it's paired with, and honestly in this category I have to compliment it for the lack of usage. Knowing when to tell the music to just shut the fuck up. is a good quality. Maybe I should learn from that, honestly. Do you like the songs I use for my videos? I don't want to use very common tracks and I try to change them all the time. I have a pretty long list right now so I can just reuse them, but I feel like they don't accompany what I talk about very well and I don't know how to find something that would fit. I digress. 7. Stills. They're just okay. Perceived depth is a bit messy at times, character designs are consistent, not very detailed but consistent. I like the fact that the characters actually change clothes from time to time and not stuck to forever outfit. Times change, old man. The era of 2000 cartoons is over, at least in certain characteristics. The thing I disliked was the color palette, mainly the color of the cast's hair. It's like a bright pastel which makes it stand out negatively, especially when there's more of them on screen. The colors are clashing, but you get used to it. The shading is good though, and the zoomings are also beautiful. Not adding that much more detail, but they are still a treat to the eyes. The backgrounds tend to be a bit more realistic, but whatever is animated doesn't look out of place. 7.5. Uniqueness. Also okay. You're dealing with family romance of the first grade, aside of the ones where there's actually incest. 7.5. That makes the total 6.97. As I got further and further into the show, I thought it was more and more cinema. Episode 10 solidified its position as peak, and none shall say otherwise. It remains to be seen whether or not Rage uses his powers of dragon on the plot. Considering the way the season ended, he didn't use them yet. Hopefully the second child tries while the first one suffers. I love it, you probably hate it, I don't give a fuck then. Shoshimin. I don't think I'm allowed to show any footage of the show. When I did my first ever video, the first season was on there and I tried using his trailer as background and they didn't like that. Reason why, now you're stuck with whatever is on screen. I don't know if they allow it now, but I'm not trying to find out, okay? Let's go. How to find an ambience as good as this, both visually and auditively? Auditory? Auditory. Still doesn't sound okay. Anyway, get it. I'm impressed with how good it is at immersing you into the action. Give it 2 episodes and if you're still interested, you're in for a ride. I don't usually get very excited for the outcome of an arc, but this time I surprised myself with how into it I was. And Hyoka didn't even interest me that much. Maybe I should finish it. I once said that Shoshimin would be the show critics will drool over and say it's a hidden gem. Now I'm critics. How can a show this good not be watched by more people? According to Mal, the Makina show is more popular. Yes. Ow! By the way, that show is a bit ahead. I don't like that I'm becoming more like critics. It makes me want to rip my skin off. Oh hey, McQueen.
Pull off your skin.
Huh? Okay. Animation. There isn't much, but you're not looking for the most insane animation for a detective series. Shoshimin handles that well. This is another point where I'd want to talk about stills at the same time. We'll do that next season, okay? Point being, animation is less relevant than stills. The animation itself tells less a story than the backgrounds and subtle details. It mostly helps with your entertainment, not enjoyment. They're kinda different things. You won't be spending that much time thinking about how well the show was animated when you have to think about the mysteries that are going on and try to pick up tiny hints. Notably, small movements are well animated, twitching and the like. All in all, taking into account the genre of the show, an 8.5 is deserved, I think. Writing. You could take this as both a good thing and a bad thing. This one lacks its cuts. That is, cutting in the middle of something happening to another perspective, even if they're not directly involved. Like reminding us there is someone we shouldn't forget about. This season also separated the 2 main characters of the last season, but we are keeping track of both of them. This is not the worst of it. The annoying thing is that between certain cuts there can be a short or a long amount of time. And it's not like in your face. You're discreetly told the script through temporal hints which you can miss. So you have to pay attention to that while also keeping track of the details and mysteries that are happening. This is not a shut your brain off show, not at all. 9.5. I hate that it makes me think, so I won't give it a 10. Soundtrack. Summarized, it is using the art of silence. Insert meme here. I don't know what fucking meme you want me to insert, but okay. Barely any ambient tracks, you can count on them appearing in tense moments though. It lets sound design take a lead, and I kinda like it. I don't think it has that many tracks, so they are reused. Even so, I think it deserves a 9. However, individual songs did not leave that big of an impact. Stills. The show shines here. The backgrounds are gorgeous, the characters don't seem out of place at all, everything looks consistently good, it's not like the girl's eyes or eyelashes have more detail than everything else. They're all given the same amount of care, which means that your attention is not attracted to a specific point in the scene, making it so they can conceal information right under your nose. Once again, perfect representation of its mystery aspect. 10. Uniqueness. The rare detective setting gives it a 9. Total is 9.1. I don't regret my time watching it, in fact I want more. Still, Dojima is the GOAT, and I'm kinda annoyed there's zero hope for our next season. There is no real content left. And that ending did not feel like a proper ending, so yeah, maybe I should have subtracted some points for that. Oh well. If you wonder why Shoshimin is not popular, there are two factors. One, it is a bit tough to get into, and two, I don't believe it's promoted anywhere. YouTubers don't really talk about it. Given what there is on screen right now, you kinda get it, I hope. Witch Watch. I came in expecting something different that was better. I bit my lip. I thought it would be more focused on combat, or have a more complex or important story, not just a rom-com with a witch. My fault for not checking. So I dropped the show after 6 episodes. Still, the rating continues. Keep in mind that this might not be the full extent of the show, and it may improve or get worse. Animation. The animation is not good enough, is what I would say if I had to hold it up to my previous assumption. I gotta think of it as a romance with some supernatural aspects. In that case, the animation is fine. It's comprehensible, sticking to mandatory movements. There's no budget wasted on animation that wouldn't be required to exemplify actions. There is one way to look at it, the other way is they did a bare minimum to not make the show look bad. It has a few more movement frames than average, CG for crowds, not really noticeable. Occasionally I also thought it was being used for the forefront characters. I won't really insist on that. Maybe it's better than average. 7.5. Writing. I don't think I've seen enough. 6 episodes should have been enough to figure shit out, but like, nothing of note happened. Nico and Morihito hung out. We gotta know a few people who seem to not point towards much character development in the future. It's probably gonna drag on for a long time. The main couple is probably not gonna kiss even by the end of the season. Don't think there's any progression there. How and why do witches, oni, and tengus exist? Like, what's their role? Nothing of note on this page. Now cut from the negative impact this would have on the scores because this is a rom-com, and it's made for kids. Yippee! It's meant to be easy on the mind, and the extra characters are randomly gonna be used as plot devices. But hey, have you ever heard of Demon Slayer? Or this other manga? The teacher is totally an otaku, so there's a lot of references to other series. To funnel popularity. Whatever. It's not bad, it's just mid. 6.5. Soundtrack. Average rom-com. It doesn't define a clear atmosphere, just biffs and bobs to lose your mind to, or cover silence. 6. Stills. Don't you feel like there's something teeny tiny bit off with the art style? Cause I feel like they made the skin glisten a bit like hentai. Okay, I won't beat around the bush, I've been swaying this whole video. It's not like I make money of this, we ain't there yet. It kinda looks like hentai, and none of that exaggerated oily shading from T-Rex works. Some very basic doujin adaptation type shit with some extra care for the male characters, or some niche romance from 2017. Either way, it doesn't stand out. Not much shading, clothing creases look out of place because of it sometimes. I feel like the whole show is lacking saturation, the backgrounds look bland, they only have a slight art style difference compared to the characters, and this would allow the world to wrap realistically around the characters. That is, if the shading was better and the outlines not so defined. Really. Shots of the characters would have looked better if the outlines were thinner or non-existent or white in some places, because they can do that if you didn't know. The only plus that comes of this is that this is a comedy too, and because of that they're better off individualizing the characters visually and have them stand out, rather than just everything looking good. It's a kid's show. 7. Uniqueness. Not much. 6. Just witches and maybe some other mythological creatures. The total is 6.63 and my rating is 5.5. Slime 300 or whatever this one's called. I'll finish this one fast so we can get into the ecchi. Fucking bitch. I only watched 6 episodes of this, and I like the previous season more. I may now be harder to please. The only thing I remember about the previous season is that the ending had a perfect lead into the Attack on Titan opening, which was funny. Just me? Oh, okay. Right off the bat, slice of life. If you enjoy that and cute girls, watch this. Animation, not impressive at all. In fact, it may just be on par with the average slice of life, which in our case means 6.5. Writing, it's a slice of life, don't expect great plot. Zero limits on possibilities, and the lack of a main narrative make this just a feel-good show with characters that aren't any better than just fine. 6. Soundtrack, fits the setting in each case and has a good vibe. 7.5. Stills. The art style changed a bit from the last season. It is now less sharp, the colors are less saturated and a bit hazy I feel. Backgrounds also look worse in my opinion, there's less detail and feel more like they just exist to exist and not so much to set the scene. 6.5. Uniqueness. Suffers from the overpowered MC, isekai aspect, and the fact that the protagonist is surrounded only by girls. It gets points through the ideas of building and enjoying your family. 7. The total is 7.09 and I give it a 5. I'm no longer interested in it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will begin the ecchi program, which will cover Please Put Them On, Takamine-san, and Makina-san is a love bot. So let's begin. Please put them on, Takamine-san. You got slavery with the extra steps. No, fuck that. There are no extra steps. This is just slavery. I wonder why nobody's saying anything. Maybe because now the master is a girl and this isn't an isekai? Talk about double standards. No, it's not like, let's say, maybe I need to specify, fictional adult content where, let's say, non-consensual intercourse happens and the attacker is a man, are tagged rape, and the others where the attacker is a woman are tagged femdom. That is, if they are tagged. No, that would never happen. 10 out of 10. But we're not there yet. This is one of those girl toys with boy and gets no repercussions. Shiromo never stands up for himself, which will make you constantly hate the show. Animation. It's bad. Low unique frame count. It's mostly just lip flaps with panning shots. It's not atrociously bad, but definitely needing more. 4. Writing. The pacing is slow. Compared to the manga, Shiroko seems more like a pussy. I don't remember exactly how the manga went, but I think the voice is at fault. I don't want to badmouth the voice actors, but he sounds a bit too much like a wimp. Same can be said about character design, he looks more like a wimp compared to the manga. This goes for the stills though. There are a few holes in how her power, Eternal Virgin Road, works. How did she find out that other people seeing her change, or her breasts, I don't remember which one it was, made them remember what would happen before she uses her power? As we know, Shindo is the only person who can do that. How did she find out? Other people see her taking off her underwear and they're unaffected. She can go back in time but also just change events. How far back can she go? The plot is good. The plot is bad because it's just typical girl teases guy, but she loves him. The MC is annoying as fuck, but not the worst of all time. And this thing right here goes both for writing and animation. The full animation is like 30 seconds or so, maybe 40, and is sometimes cut short, but in the first 7 or so episodes it is used quite a lot. 4. Soundtrack. Exaggerated, not fitting the show very well. You know how whenever something happy happens, there is a happy song, and when something sad happens, there is a sad song. Here each one of these different kinds of tracks sound like they come from a different show. They are varied to the extreme. 6. Stills. About the best in the market for low-end ecchi shows. Exaggerated proportions, but the shapes are among the best in the market, which matters more. Now about whole body proportions, well, Takane is too damn tall. Not only that, but she's not consistent at all. Common issue with ecchi anime, you could also say that about her personality. Shading looks off at times, either overdone or just lacking. The backgrounds are mid, and the mid-episode breaks have Takane in suggestive clothing, and that's peak. 8. Uniqueness. Eternal Virgin Road. 3. Total is 483, and I give it a 5. I like boobies, but get to the point. I recommend reading the manga. It's a faithful adaptation, but I don't think that the animation is good enough to warrant giving up the panels of the manga. I'm not forcing you to do it, it's just what I do. Maybe you can see some on screen right now. Oh. Makina-san is a love bot. Oh, 1 second in and it's already everywhere. Well, what can you expect from an ecchi main show that is sort of hidden away on the seasonal chart? Watching this was a pain in the ass. Haha. The joke is that they really like bringing up stuffing things in Eita's ass. Animation. Animation refers to a sequence of pictures with slight modifications in order to make it appear like the object whose position changes is in motion. In our case, we have bouncing titties, changing mouths, and leg movement really. Can you call this animation? Desperate people maybe. 2.5. First episode had more animation than the rest, and her falling probably had the most. I can't decide whether the beginning after the end is better or worse than this. Writing. 0 narrative importance. 2. There was something there in the first episode about robots and AI. It's never brought up again. The first time I watched it, it didn't even stick to me. I was like slobbering and I looked back and there were tits and a big jar of water and my peace was disturbed. I went back to watch the scene again and same thing happened. It was irrelevant whatever it was. Soundtrack. Lacking. It like isn't there? Is there even a soundtrack? I don't know. 2. Stills. Okay, this here I must say. Cinema. Only about Makina though. She is gorgeous. The hair is beautiful, the color combination is great, the shapes are... Oh, the shapes. Oh, the Japanese have mastered the art of tits. Now as I've developed into more of an ass man, I await talent in the bottom domain. By the way, in terms of design, everything else is just... okay. 7. Uniqueness. Find me an anime worse than this. This has tits, a sex robot that doesn't know how to sex, and only knows a vague description of yaoi sex. Tits, dismemberment. 8. Total is 3.23, lowest one in the history of me doing all these reviews. which is 1 year. Usually when I saw an ecchi I was like, yippee, boobies, cheeks, nip, but now it's kinda lost its meaning. All that ecchi does is impede plot. We all know that when we see these ecchi on main shows it just means teasing and edging. It's just pointless to expect more from something that is not hentai. When is season 2 of Redo of a Healer coming out? I'll just let my inner man say something real quick.
That is, yeah.
My score is 6 because Makina is hot. Okay, so let's now return to what I've left unfinished. Apare down. Man, how the fuck are you gonna copy the elements from Avatar? I feel like animation has gotten better, soundtrack too, slightly, and stills are as good as before, which is a good thing. They were quite good. Maybe I didn't appreciate them enough. It still has the issue of going from a serious, relatively well-rounded plot point to some wacky shit. I also believe there's an issue with the direction and storyboarding. So I thought I'd change the scores to 6.5 for the animation, 4 for writing, 6.5 for soundtrack, 8 for stills, and 4.5 for uniqueness. And that makes it so the total changed to 5.78. My enjoyment also increased, and I give it a 7. It took a while for Apare to get going, but it's not trash. Still, I wouldn't recommend it. I stopped watching after episode 17 and went on to read the manga. In my humble expert opinion, the manga is better. The characters are better developed, better individualized, and many things were cut which were important to linking plots. I believe I would have been less harsh with the writing last season if they kept some of the scenes that were cut. Not by much, but it would have amounted to something. One of the most pointless things that were done was the change of atmosphere. The anime tries to have a more serious and heavy tone, which, fair enough, does work better with some of the plot points. The manga, up to the point that I've read, used the same softer, more lighthearted feel throughout, and I believe that would have been the right choice for the anime too, because the writing is made to satisfy or complement that happy vibe, so when you switch the vibe, the writing level goes down. All in all, it's an okay show. It reminds me of Fairy Tail, though I haven't watched the whole thing. Danmachi. Amazing. Apparently it aired before I uploaded the last seasonal review, so I could have reviewed it then, but I had it in my head that it would air in spring, so here you go. Nothing much happened that would change the scores from last time, however I increased the animation score from an 8 to 8.5, given there were a lot more intense moments in the last part since it's almost continuous combat for like 4 episodes. The rest remained the same, and that is 8.5 for writing, 8.5 for soundtrack, 9 for stills, and 8.5 for uniqueness. The total is now 8.42, and my personal score remains 9.5. I don't remember if I said this before, but I'm really interested in reading the novels. I don't know if I have the time to do that, but I wanted to know something. If there's anybody watching who read the novel, does the light novel tell you more about people's backgrounds and not keep so many secrets the way the anime does? Because like, in the anime, you can just feel there's something more going on, but you're told jack shit. Or maybe I just forgot. I don't know. Now comes the part where I show you the graphs. So here we got the average scores for each category in this season, and here's them compared to the previous season. I thought I should do a chart showing the total scores for each anime, so here you go, you can now see which one is better faster. Well, this video took a long fucking time, and I don't know why. I'm just shit at editing and I've honestly played too much video games. I just can't lock in and do what needs to be done. Now well, as I said before, do let me know if I should do these reviews or whatever they are in the middle of the season, even though that's kind of defeating the purpose of giving a proper rating for each. I could do like a speed round each season for the past one saying these should be the scores after watching the whole season. I still feel like I forgot something. If I forget it, then it probably wasn't important. I'm probably never gonna have these videos out on time. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe and all that if you like the video, and bye bye.